Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tattoos and Telehealth. I'm Kelly White with Kari Health, and this is my dear colleague, Nicole Baldwin. And we have something really exciting that we want to chat with you guys about. First, our lawyers make us say this is by no means considered medical advice. This conversation is just between two gals chatting it up about some things that we know, don't know, want to know more about. And so this conversation does not indicate a patient-provider relationship in any way, form, or fashion. And we just want to visit with you about some things that we know or want to know more about. Something that is kind of new-ish, but I don't know if you guys know about this, but there is genetic testing available for anxiety and depression markers. Now, hear me out. This isn't a genetic testing that says, yes, you have anxiety and depression. That's not what this is about. This is a genetic test that lets clinicians guide their therapy toward medications that you may or may not be more susceptible to benefit from or not benefit from. So I'm going to let Nicole kind of take over and talk to you about that a little bit more so it makes better sense. But it's really exciting for us because as clinicians for years, we have used the trial and error method. In other words, a patient comes to us with anxiety and or depression, and we have to just like, well, we've had good luck with this one. Let's start with this one. And then you come back and we do this whole thing where it's just trial and error. But there is a company that does genetic testing, and it lets us know which medications you might benefit from over others. So Nicole has done this test. So Nicole, tell us what happened when you took the test.
So I found out that GeneSight is the name of the company, and it's a pharmacogenomic test, right? And what they do is they send you a swab. You have to have a provider order. You have to have a healthcare provider write the order. They ship it to your home. Insurance can be filled out for them to run it through your insurance, swab your cheek, send it back. You do it all from home, and it will come back and give you green, yellow, and red. So I wanted to do it because I'm like, hey, let's just see what this is all about. Let me see how, how this works. And so I swabbed my cheek. I sent it back. Within a couple weeks, I got the results back. And what it does is it tells you for antidepressants, it tells you what's in the green, what's going to work best for your DNA, yellow, what's maybe not, and then what's in red that's you're likely going to have a side effect. And so gives us direction on where to start for you. So as of, you know, historically, when a patient comes in and they're having symptoms of anxiety and depression, we diagnose them based on whatever factors. We typically pick an antidepressant that works well with your symptoms, but there's many. So we pick one, and then you have to be on it for 4, 6, 8 weeks before you may see a result. And then are we changing the dose? Are we changing the med? And if it's not one for you, then you stop it, you start another one. We go through the same 6 to 8 weeks. So some patients, it's very frustrating for patients and for providers that we're trying to help you, but these medications typically take so long to figure out if they work for you or not. Then if it doesn't, you got to start the whole cycle over. So it is not uncommon for patients to wait 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, going through different medications to figure out what works for you and what regimen, because a lot of patients need more than one medication, and you need to match two medications that are going to be good for the patient. So for my test, for my antidepressants, it gives me like 12 that are green. It gives me 3 that came back yellow, and then 1 that came back where I'm probably going to have side effects. And it's not a hard answer, but it's a guide that guides us to tell us where to start for patients and where you're going to have the best likelihood of it working. And so this is amazing. It cuts down the trial and error time significantly. It does antidepressants for non-smokers, depressants for smokers, anxiolytics and hypnotics. So things like, these are mostly controlled, but things like Xanax, Valium, Lunesta, Ambien, those are all controlled substances. But what it's useful for typically is SSRIs and SNRIs, like the venlafaxine, the sertraline, the Zoloft, the Wellbutrins, things like that. So that's what it's really good for. But it also goes into antipsychotics, as well as mood stabilizers. And so it gives us tons of information, and just information on what is going to work best for our patients in the most likely. Now, I have a family member of mine who has struggled with anxiety and depression her whole life. She has been on, I swear, everything under the sun, even had the electrotherapy about 10 years ago, where they shock your brain or whatever. Um, and I ran hers and she only had like a couple of green and a lot of red. So for me, it was a lot of green, a little red. Hers was definitely the other way. Most patients have a mix of green, yellow, and red. And so this takes the guesswork, a lot of the guesswork out, of where to start patients on anxiety and depression medications. And so it's a real big game changer for those that are struggling with it.
And you said they take insurance to do this test, right?
Oh, they do. They do. Even Medicare, Medicaid. When I go in and order for a patient, it asks me if they have state insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, or I don't know. And then it says, if I say no, it'll say what type of insurance, and I can either enter it in if I have it, or I can click send to the patient, and it'll send the patient like information, name, group number, blah, 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 blah. And it will be submitted to your insurance. So we attach to it a diagnosis code if you've been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, panic disorder, whatever that is. And then from there, the diagnosis code will help with insurance approval. So,
And
yeah.
I even saw ADHD meds on there, didn't I? So even things like ADHD, some medications we use for obsessive compulsive disorder, those meds were on there as well.
Yep, yep. So the stimulants, the non-stimulants, things like that. Yep, absolutely. And that's all on there as well, just to kind of give us a guide on what's gonna be best. For helpful. I met up with a patient a couple weeks ago, and I started her on a medication, but I said, if this doesn't work, we probably should try this genetic testing to see where to go, because she really has a lot of panic. And I said, if this doesn't work, let's go ahead and order the test. And she's like, can we just order the test? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm going to start you on this med. So we're already starting therapy somewhere. In the meantime, I'm going to get this test shipped to you. So she swabbed and she sent it back. So we're waiting on results. So it has been great. And I'm eagerly awaiting her results to kind of see, if this medication is going to work well for her, or if we need to switch it, or, whatever the case may be. So yeah, so I'm super, super excited about it.
And one of the other things that I want to point out is the two different styles of information that it comes back. So smoking and non-smoking. And that's very important because of the way that our body responds to medications when we are doing something that causes our cells to bind with other things. So it's important that we keep that in mind. So if you have any other health conditions, not just smoking, but if you have gut issues, if you have autoimmune diseases, if you take other medications, if you have illnesses, anything else, there's a ton of other things going on with your person that could affect this test as well. So just keep in mind, guys, this is just a tool that us as providers can put in our toolbox, but it's a huge tool. It's a giant breakthrough with us just because we've always had to do the test and repeat cycle of meds. And now we have something that gives us a place to start. But just be sure to understand that all of those little things that you do and everything about your health also goes into play. So be sure that you're upfront and honest with your clinician about every single thing that you do, and everything that's going on with your person, because that affects medications as well, and doses of medications, kind of where we start you on that tree of
Yeah.
dosing.
Because not only you're absolutely right, because not only with starting a medication, but what other meds are you on that are contraindicated? And that's not in this test, right? We have to consider so many things. We have to consider the medications that you're currently on, maybe things that you've tried in the past. But the good news is that this test, you only have to run it once, because your DNA is your DNA. So if you see a new provider in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you can take this with you, because it's still going to be applicable to you. And so that's the beauty of this. And I think the cash pay for this is around $300 if you don't have insurance, but it is so worth it when you have anxiety and depression and you're struggling to figure out which med is going to work, which med is going to cause bad side effects. it's just amazing. I mean, the trial and error method has been going on since mankind. And now to have something to help us with our direction, it's absolutely just a big breakthrough. So you do need an order from a provider. So you can either come see me, hamiltontelehealth.com. You can see Kelly. You order them as well, correct?
I do. And you can come see me at carihealth.com, CHARI health.com. And what
Yep.
is the turnaround time for these tests, Nicole?
It's typically about 2 weeks. So I get it ordered. It's to you within about 4 to 5 days, weather permitting. And then however long it takes you to swab and enter, put everything in the thing and drop it back in the mailbox. Typically about 2 weeks from there. So much faster than trying a medication and figuring it out. So,
Yeah. And
like I
not near
said,
as much of an emotional roller coaster. I love it.
it is. It's emotional roller coaster for me because I'm no stranger to anxiety. And so I can definitely appreciate this type of study. I wish, this study was out, 20 years ago, when I started, after I had my daughter, I had really, really weird anxiety. Like I'm super outgoing and super like never met a stranger, but this panic started coming on in when I would be out, and it was terrifying. But getting on the right anxiety medication at that point in my life was trial and error. So yeah.
I'm, I'm excited for the test. I'm excited to see how it works moving forward with patients. And I just think it's a great opportunity for us to have a new tool in our toolbox, and it's going to be a powerful one for sure.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to reach out, even if you just want the test because you just want the test for good measure, whether you're having anxiety or not. I mean, I think it's just great to have, and it goes with you for your whole life. So the results are good for forever.
Great
So
thing about it is because it tests your genetic markers for those medications. There are a lot of other medications that require the same genetic markers to determine their functionality. So once you kind of already know what your DNA sequence looks like, there's a lot of other medications that can be adjusted if your provider is savvy enough with those things. So it's a really good test. It's a really, really good test because if you're like a CYP450A or if you have, I mean, like that means something to us. But if you have those genetic markers, that means a lot when it comes to certain medications. So it's just an all around great test to know, a great test to have in your back pocket. And like Nicole said, it doesn't change. Your DNA is your DNA. So it's a one time pop fee. You keep that in your back pocket forever and ever. Amen. And it's gonna be with you to help out from here on.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So we just wanted to get the word out about this and you know, let you guys know if you want the test, just let us know, reach out to us. And that's really all we wanted to go over today. You can find me at hamiltontelehealth.com and you can find Kelly at,
ChariHealth.com, CHARI health.com. And we
all
look
right.
forward to seeing you guys.
Yep. Nice seeing you guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.